Hello everyone and welcome WIF Vichaar Season 5 presented to you by the Warwick India Forum. My name is Ayan Ratra and I am the co-head of the talks team at the Warwick India Forum. It now gives me immense honor to introduce today's guest speaker, Ms Neelam Jain. Ms Jain is the co-founder of PeriFerry, a first of its kind social enterprise in India that creates employment and upskilling opportunities for the transgender community. It was her passion and ideas for the emancipation of the transgender community that became the first blueprint of PeriFerry. Ms. Jain quit her job at Goldman Sachs in 2016 and spent more than a year doing fieldwork before founding PeriFerry. The organization also promotes LGBTQIA inclusion in the workplace at large. Over the years, PeriFerry has placed over 170 transgender individuals within various organizations. It has also assisted companies and institutions to become truly inclusive through various sensitization and awareness programs. Transgender individuals are allowed to venture into the world of work with confidence and acceptance through training in computer literacy, English communication, soft skills, interview preparation, and much more. Ma'am, it is an honor to have you on WIF Vichar. We look forward to an interesting and insightful conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Ayan. It's a pleasure, and a big thank you to everyone who's listening in today. It is definitely an honor to be speaking and to be sharing what we've done and really how we continue as an organization.
So our first question, ma'am, is could you tell our viewers about your early life, upbringing, and education, and how they shaped your strengths and overall personality?
Sure. Just before that, I think there was a slight correction in the introduction. We have placed close to about 430 people as of to date in jobs. So that's that. Now, about my early life, firstly, I really think that someone's early life, their upbringing plays a huge role in what they end up doing, both professionally as well as personally. For me, I was brought up in a family that was, in a way, very liberal, but I was also largely a part of a very, sort of a conservative society, wherein we were taught that girls grow up, just get married, those kind of assumptions. All the cousins that I had around me, whether they were my sisters, brothers, followed traditional means, which means if they were by 22, 23, either they would get married or they would be a part of the family business. My parents were quite the opposite and really let us be who we were, which I think is very hard to do when you are, a part of such a society. But at every step and every point, they were, always of the idea that their kids should grow up to be who they really want to be. So that was instilled from a very young age. I grew up to, like commerce. I studied bachelor's in commerce, and then I was lucky enough to be selected through my campus drive as well, wherein I got placed at Goldman Sachs. So that was literally the dream job. Any college grad who gets into Goldman really believes that's like their dream, and really doesn't think beyond that. And that's what I thought, that I will really grow in this organization. So once I entered Goldman, I got exposed to a whole lot more, right? The culture, the way people work. And one of the things that I really got exposed to was also the understanding of the LGBTQIA community. I'm a cisgender heterosexual person, so the only lens with which I had seen trans people before in India was at the bus stop or signals, and that's all that I thought was, the community. But I met a lot of trans people as a part of various workshops and events that my organization used to run, and that's where my learning and understanding about the community grew. I applied for a competition through which I could raise funds for an NGO that was working for the community. And that's when I got even more interested in working with the community, because I saw a real challenge. And back in 2017, we didn't have any organization that was purely working in the space of livelihoods. Uh, there were a lot of NGOs and CBOs that did commendable and fantastic work, but there was a clear gap in most of these organizations trying to solve the problem of livelihoods and upskilling within the community. So that's where I stepped in. I came from a finance background, and I really understood how much being financially stable is, it doesn't solve all your problems, but it does open up a lot of doors. It does make easier when you don't have to depend on someone else for money. And for transgender community, like a community that has been, socially, economically abused for so many years, so many decades, financial freedom is can be a step in the right direction. So that's how my journey began. I wanted to really just be a mediator between, inclusive jobs, inclusive livelihoods, and the community. And over the years, we built a model through which we were able to do that. And yeah, I mean, I'll talk more about it as we go.
Wow, ma'am, that was really insightful, and like I think it gave our viewers a really nice background about your early life and upbringing and how that has shaped the work you do
Yeah.
with Periphery even today. Our next question was, although you did cover it, but if there were like a couple of key learnings you imbibed from your career at Goldman Sachs, what would those key learnings be?
I think one of the biggest thing was to build a culture where people can thrive. And I think, if not for that job that I had where I saw superb managers, superb team members, I wouldn't be able to build an organization myself. A person can have all the dream that they want to and imagine as much, but unless they're able to build a good team, they really can't move forward. So for me, that was one of the biggest learning from Goldman. Second was having a process in place. So I used to be one of those people who hated processes, who hated having to follow a structure. I really was the person who will just suddenly get up and do something new. So aligning myself to definition to structure was very hard, but that's the only way your organization and your vision can sort of be translated to multiple people. Otherwise, it just remains a one-person job. I think those are some of the biggest things, but the biggest of them all was just learning about, the community itself. I don't think I would have gotten that if not for me being a part of an inclusive company that really embraced people for who they are.
That's also like very interesting because I think when one is in a workplace, everyone's just so focused about getting like tasks done, and no one really,
Yeah,
pays attention to the larger picture of inclusivity, which is
yeah,
very like sad in today's time still. So, was there
yeah.
any specific moment that inspired you, like, or an incident where you saw discrimination towards the transgender community, which made you think, like, okay, yes, now I want to start my own organization, Periphery, like something on those lines, or was it just
Yeah.
very, like, it was just a transition over time?
No, it was definitely a transition over time. A lot of people, when they ask me this question, they wait for an answer where I tell them that, oh, I had a best friend who went through this. But it was none of those things. And I think you can be empathetic. You can really do something that is not for yourself or that doesn't affect your immediate circle, as long as you're able to, really just put yourself at least a little bit in someone else's shoes. There were various moments that led to me starting Periphery. One of the first was when I heard trans people, at my own workspace back then, coming in as speakers, really, embracing who they are. And it was the first time that I saw transgender people on a stage speaking in English, sharing their story. And I'm ashamed to be saying this, but I really saw them as just another person at that point in time. Until then, I really saw them as oh, poor thing. There was a very sort of a cis privileged view of seeing the community before that. um, I think another moment was when I met this trans woman named Uma. She still runs her own CBO in Bangalore. I met her at a small cafe coffee day right before I started working on the project. And she told me about her life and her journey. And it was very evident that someone who went through so much in her life, right, from discrimination from family and all the taboo from the society, is still rising up and doing so much for her society. So the question was, what stops people as privileged as us to just do our bit? And I wasn't of the mind that, oh, I want to be like a face for the community or like raise the flag and do that marching. But I really just wanted to put my head down and do something that adds value to the community and their livelihood as well. So that was a huge source of inspiration as well. And that materialized over the next year. And then I finally started Periphery in 2017.
And what do you think are the main barriers hindering the acceptance of the transgender community in India? Like, if you had to pinpoint, say, three, which, if as a society
Yeah,
could change, then the acceptance would increase by a lot.
it starts with family. There's no alternative to that. I wish, parents who are so excited to have a child understand that just giving birth or having a child is not enough. Accepting your child for who they are is everything. So I really think that it starts with family. It starts with people closest to you. If they, just gave a chance to understand what it is to be born as a person who's neglected and affected by the entire society, it's not a good place to be in. So it starts there. I also think it's in how we communicate. There's the usage of words, how we express our thoughts and views about the larger lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans community. And sometimes we think that everybody in the room is cisgender or heterosexual, but you're not sure, right? You don't know who has to be in the closet because it's not a safe world to live in. I really think those are some of the barriers. And I think one of the things that also really affects the community is how all of this sort of peripheral pushing of the community to the fringe affects their own self-esteem. And we've seen this with a lot of transgender people that we've placed in jobs. While they're able to get inside into a company, get the job, they're unable to move up the ladder because a there is a massive feeling of I don't belong. uh, I may not be good enough. I am not liked over here. And all of these are also structural barriers, right? That we as a society need to break. It is not the trans person's responsibility to go about, uh, you know, tapping doors, go about trying to network. We need to bring the community in. Uh, and those kind of things is something that I really wish more people did to really bring the community in. It's not enough if you just open the door. You really need to create a culture where people can actually be themselves.
And how has Periphery managed to deal with these problems? So, like, we covered like
Yeah.
increasing inclusivity and in workspaces, but what were the various challenges at Periphery that you all faced along the way?
So, I mean, challenges changed over time. We still continue to face very different challenges, but they exist. When we started the organization, one of the biggest challenge was that we were it was me who started alone, and then we had two more people who joined me, and none of us were trans people. We had great intent, but I don't think we had the right vocabulary. I don't think we had the trust from the community, and this it's obvious why the community may not trust people who are not from the community. So one of the biggest challenge was gaining the trust of the community, and it took a lot of time. It was a lot of perseverance as well to be able to do that, and finally our success spoke for it. The more people who got jobs and the more they had a good experience in their workplace, they went back telling in their own community that I got a job through Periphery. I'm earning this much. My manager treats me like this. So that really spoke for us. But it took close to like 2, 3 years to build that kind of reputation. Until then, we were just knocking so many doors that told us that we don't trust you and we can't work with you. Um, Another challenge was gaining the trust from the companies and the corporates, right? We were a bunch of 22, 23-year-olds back in 2017. Um, so us telling the corporates that, hey, you should hire, this is how we will support you, and also telling them that they need to pay us because we were not charging the community for anything. We were very certain that we want to have a model wherein the corporates who are in a position to pay will actually help us survive and sustain as an organization. So gaining that trust from the corporates, them seeing us as a partner and a partner that they would actually pay, so that we could build a self-sustainable model was very hard. Over time, these challenges obviously solved, but right now we continue to face different sets of challenges, which is what many other organizations do. It's scaling the work we've done. We're training and placing close to about 25, 30 people, every 2 months. But we know that the demand from the community is so much more. There are so many people in the wait list to be a part of our Revive training program or to get a job, etc. So, how do we solve this at scale? How do we continue to have our quality retained as we grow? These are just basic organizational challenges, and really filtering and sort of communicating our mission throughout the organization. Because as we grow, we realize that just two, three of us can't be passionate, right? We need to trickle that down to everybody, right from the person who's on the field, and doing this work, to the person who might be behind the tech screen and making our website. How do they all get communicated by the same message? So that's some of the things we continue to learn and grow from. But we're, I mean, 6 years down the line, we're definitely in a good place now.
You spoke about, the passion that the three of y'all had trickling down across the
Yeah.
organization to make a difference. In line with that, do you think with the advent of social media over the last decade, the pace at which it has grown, do you think it has increased the acceptance of the LGBTQI community at large, or is there still like barriers that social media itself creates for the acceptance?
I really don't know, because it's very conflicting. I feel like this social media also is sort of heavily seen by a certain class of the society. And what I see on social media is probably people of my own backgrounds, schools, colleges, etc. So I feel like, yes, I think maybe within the creamy layer that we speak about, things might have improved, or at least on a superficial level, people try to be more accepting. All of that happens. And there was the trans rights bill. It did have its own issues, but it created a lot of awareness. Then the decriminalization of Section 377 that happened. All of these things really pushed things in the right direction. The Tamil Nadu government has been doing a lot in the recent past at a more ground level to be supporting the community. So all of these things have really helped, but I don't know if it still goes down back to the homes and families. Um, I know a lot of people in my team, some of them who are a part of the community, some of them who are not, still find it very hard to go back home and speak to their parents about what they're working on. So it's become easier in professional spaces and corporate spaces, but is it really as easy still at heart at home? I don't know.
That's a very valid point. I think that's a negative of social media at large, right? Because what you see on
Yeah,
social media doesn't necessarily mean that the person genuinely believes in that. So like that's also one barrier. Our next segment is a rapid fire segment in which we will ask Ms. Jain a few short questions about a wide range of topics before concluding the interview with like short a sentence or one word answers. So our
sure.
first rapid fire question is, what is your success mantra?
Just keep doing. I don't I don't plan, strategize, and then execute. I jump into it, and then as I go, I figure out things.
One piece of advice you would give this generation of students?
Don't plan too much. That never helps. Just get into things and you will find your way. And I really think that money is not everything. Uh, Sometimes without huge financial resources, you can still do what you want to, as long as you have the intent, and the right sort of people coming together to help.
Favorite book or favorite author?
I am not proud to say this, but I don't read too much, but I do watch movies of different books. So I still love Harry Potter. I love Christopher Nolan and his movies and all of that. So yeah.
One LGBTQI activist who inspires you the most, or any celebrity that has, championed their cause, who inspires
Yeah,
you?
actually many of them. But I think two people who are more close to home, and I have personally learned a lot when I was just learning and building myself as an ally, is definitely Grace Banu. was a very prominent trans activist in Tamil Nadu regions. Another person is Kalki Subramanian. Both of these women have done some fantastic work, been in the space for like 3, 4 decades, even before it became the thing or interesting. They really done a lot. So they are my source of, sort of inspiration as well.
What would an ideal day look like for you? So if there was one day you could do anything you wanted, what were the boxes you would like to tick on that specific day?
Spending more time with the community. I think, as you sort of build an organization, that decreases, which is not a great thing. So right now I keep finding more and more chances to spend more time. And I'm actually excited the weekend after this, we're doing like a small meetup at Cubbon Park, a very prominent park in Bangalore. So with the community. So yeah, I look forward to those things more than strategy and Excel sheets and emails. Yeah.
Favorite holiday destination?
Um, there's a long list that I have in my mind. I haven't been there, but I do wish to go to Iceland someday. Hopefully, I will.
Favorite cuisine?
I love Italian. That's like my favorite because I mean, usually at home we just eat North Indian, South Indian. So that's something that I kind of look forward to more often.
The biggest strength of Periphery, if you had to just pinpoint one thing, like the biggest strength, what would that
Yeah,
be?
the team and its resilience. There's no periphery without the kind of team we have and the kind of the resilience we've shown over the years. Most of us are people who've been with the organization right from day one or many years now.
And our last rapid fire question is something you kind of touched upon before, but you mentioned that family is the first thing that hinders acceptance. But
Yeah,
if there were two other things in order of importance, what would they be to that hinder the acceptance of the community?
I think how much the government does to institutionalize inclusion. It's not enough that it's on policy or papers, but what are we really doing as a government to socially accept the community, right? I think that affects everything because when it's dictated by the government of India, everything changes as well. That's one, and I think secondly, we don't talk too much about this, but jobs, livelihoods is everything, right? And if our workplaces, if our livelihoods could just be taken care of, I know a lot of the other social barriers come down when our livelihood is taken care of.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this episode of WIF Vichaar, Ms. Jain. This was certainly a very insightful episode about the transgender community and their struggles, and also about the amazing work that Periphery has done. It has truly been an honor hosting you, and we look forward to collaborate in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayan.